Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Doug Shoemaker with the Shoemaker Loan Team at Homestead Financial Mortgage and the Home Foundation. I'm here with my good friend Nick Schmidt. Nick, say hi to everybody. Tell everybody, who are you, what do you do, and why are we here today, man?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Doug. I'm Nick Schmidt. I'm with the O'Fallon, Illinois Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 198. I've been in law enforcement for about 14 years now, and I'm here to talk a little bit today about what the FOP, which I'll be referring to the Fraternal Order of Police as, does within our community and some ways that maybe some of the viewers can help out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. I mean, tell me a little bit more about the Fraternal Order of Police in general, because I think there's a whole lot of people, I was probably one of them for a long time, that doesn't really realize what you guys do.
Yeah, a lot of people that aren't in law enforcement don't really realize what the Fraternal Order of Police is. It is our union. It not only helps us to negotiate our contracts and things like that, but the fraternal side of it is our benevolent or our charitable arm within our membership. So it's the way that we're able to get out in the community, make some contributions, make some positive impacts in some people's lives.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man, because, I mean, my whole life I've obviously looked at law enforcement, military, and firefighters as heroes for doing your job every day. But I never really thought that you guys might be kind of banding together to do other great causes. So as far as like the community stuff that you guys do, tell me about a couple of those things. I know we talked a little bit earlier, you were discussing a program, Cops and Kids. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Cops and Kids is our program we've been doing for many, many years now. Where each December, a little bit before Christmas, we're able to take some youth from the community that are underprivileged or maybe their parents are having a hard time financially or there's something going on in their lives where they need a little extra cheer around Christmas. We're up to about 50 students that we take, elementary aged. We identify these children through the help of guidance counselors, teachers at our local school districts. And thanks to the money we raise throughout the year, we're able to take 50 kids shopping with a $250 budget per kid. One thing we were mentioning off camera when we were talking about it was one of the coolest things for me about it is, most of these kids, we'll take them shopping. It'll be usually two officers, one kid. They'll go out, they'll pick out some things they like and they want, but most of them, in my experience, have taken it upon themselves to pick something out for mom or dad or brother or sister. So you're seeing that even if, maybe they're not the most, the richest kid in the room, they're still thinking about being selfless and getting something for a loved one. That's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely awesome, especially because a lot of us, folks that we're getting a little bit older, we're always talking about these kids these days. And, so many people talk about kids like they're so selfish and all these things. What age range would you say these kids are most of the time, Nick?
For Cops and Kids, it's young elementary school. And their parents will bring them up. I didn't mention earlier, we also give the parent that brings them up a $100 gift card. So, obviously the kid's not going to go do the grocery shopping or get the socks and underwear or whatever, the essentials that they need. So while we're, taking the kids shopping, mom and dad can go out and grab the essentials and stuff too. So.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think with that age range, they haven't learned yet how to be selfish or mean. Keep that in mind, young parents out there, because they're not born being selfish and mean. So we teach them that. So how heartwarming is that when these kids that are already underprivileged, that don't have a lot of the things the average family might have, for them to be selfless enough to be buying gifts for someone else.
Yeah, it's, every year it surprises me a little bit. I don't know if we get a little jaded in our jobs and seeing the worst of the worst, but, you get a little kid that hasn't learned the behavior yet or learned selfishness or hate or anything. It's really cool to see the purity of, I think human nature is inherently good.
Yeah, I believe so too. Now, Nick, another program you guys have got, I love the name. It's Kicks for the Soul. Tell me a little bit about this. Where'd the name come from, and specifically, what do you guys do?
So Kicks for the Soul, we target a little bit older kids with that. So with our Cops and Kids, it's the younger group. Kicks for the Soul, we determined a few years back that we needed to do more for the older age group, junior high, early high school. And one thing that every kid in that age group loves is some fresh new kicks, some shoes. So we will take kids, I say kids, young adults, I guess at that point, junior high age shopping at Academy Sports. They're able to usually get about 2 pairs of name brand, high quality sneakers or whatever kind of shoes they're looking for. That's one of the coolest things at that age group, I think, is to have some fresh new shoes to show off at school when, maybe mom or dad wouldn't be able to afford the name brand stuff. So,
well, and that's some serious brand awareness, my friend. It's amazing to me how important shoes are to kids these days. I think they would go without food for days to have the right pair of shoes. At least mine would. It's pretty fascinating. And then you guys have got, I think around the fall time of year, a backpack program for kids. What is it that you guys do? How do you put that together, and how might people help with that?
Sure. That is a backpack giveaway. We've called it a back-to-school blast in the past. We partner with the O'Fallon Apostolic Assembly right here on South Lincoln. And the teachers from the school districts will give us lists for each group, each class, what supplies they need. The church will go out through their fundraising, and they'll purchase the supplies themselves. The FOP will come in, and we'll purchase the backpacks. So we get, again, name brand, usually Under Armour, real nice backpacks for the older kids. And then the Apostolic Assembly will have a picnic on their parking lot. They'll serve some hot dogs, popcorn, snow cones. They have a dunk tank for us. I've volunteered to get in there a couple times in my uniform and let the kiddies dunk me, which is pretty fun. So it's another good positive interaction where some people normally wouldn't see the police. A lot of people only see the police when it's the worst day of their lives, right, Doug?
Yeah.
So the more we're able to get out there and have a positive interaction where nothing's going wrong is really positive for everybody, I think.
Yeah, that is absolutely wonderful, man. As a kid growing up, I always looked at our first responders, our military, our law enforcement, and they were always the heroes. Their uniform, all the things that they did. I'm not sure that they did as much community involvement as what you guys do now, which I think is really fascinating. But one of the other things I learned about you guys a few years ago was this torch run, this polar plunge kind of thing that I like. Not only do you guys kind of run with this, but you just dominate. Tell me about this, man, because the heroes that you guys are really sponsoring they're the real heroes in my opinion.
Yeah, so the FOP is very heavily involved with what's known as the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics. This is a not only statewide, not only nationwide, but now worldwide movement, and the goal is to raise funds and awareness for the athletes of Special Olympics. So in addition to the run itself, which we'll be doing next Tuesday, you mentioned the polar plunge. We raise funds throughout the year, but the biggest one that we've had the most success with from the O'Fallon side is the polar plunge. Doug has done the polar plunge with us, so you know how cool it can be sometimes. He said cool, cold. So our O'Fallon team has now raised the most in the history of the state for a single year. That was this most recent year. Just from plunge donations, we raised $71,000, which all goes back to Special Olympics Illinois.
That is absolutely fascinating, and I will say, yeah, it's cold, and getting in that water might be crazy, and so I have people, they ask, like, with some of the stupid videos I've done and stuff, they're like, man, you got to be crazy. How do you do that? And it's like, sure, you could say it's courageous to jump into cold water, but I think that for the athletes and what they go through and what they do, just being courageous to get up out of bed every day sometimes and go on with their life. I mean, that's courage. So, tell me, man, with like some of your athletes and stuff, like I've met Tony, what do they think about polar plunge and what you guys all do?
Tony thinks we're crazy. Tony, last year, he said he was going to plunge with us, and then he got his ankle in. So we'll call that a plunge.
That was a plunge.
It was a plunge. But you're right, Doug. Like, just seeing these guys, what they've gone through, and just the positive attitudes when we go to these events, not only the fundraisers, but the spring games up in Troy. I go to the summer games up in Bloomington Normal, and you can't be unhappy there. Everybody is so positive, so happy. And, you see some of these things that, so maybe someone was born with an intellectual disability that affects their ability to walk. But some of these people have better attitudes and are better role models than just about anybody I know.
That is as positive as it is unfortunate. You know, it truly is. You know, some of us, man, we call a hard day not being able to get Starbucks. You know, well, man, as far as like all the different things that you guys do for the community, with the FOP, do you guys have any funds available, or is there money left over, like for our officers when they're injured or when things bad happen in their life, or how does that work?
Yeah, so a good majority of what we bring in through our golf tournament every year, which this year's on September 6th at Far Oaks Golf Club. I should mention we're always accepting new hole sponsors for that, as well as attendance prizes that'll get raffled off. So a lot of what we bring in does go back into the community, but we do keep a reserve. So if something happens to one of our members, whether it be an injury or an illness, whether on duty or off duty, a house fire, an accident, a family member getting sick, really the options are endless. We do have the ability to help them out and get them through whatever they might be going through.
That's great. So everybody out there, when you're making donations to the Fraternal Order of Police when they call, that money could be going for, one of those programs for the kids. It could be going to help officers. So make sure you're generous there. And as far as sponsorship's concerned, yeah, as long as you've sponsored Midwest Wing Fest and the Home Foundation, you can just sponsor them. It'll be okay.
There it was.
So man, guys, we'll put up on the screen, or we'll put down below where you'll be able to reach out to these guys if you want to help, whether it be from a volunteer standpoint or a donation standpoint or whatever the case may be. But Nick, I want to ask you too, man, the last few years have been, a little bit strange in our world. The country's gone through a lot. But as I said a minute ago, man, I always looked at our law enforcement and our military, our first responders as the heroes in life. And it's not been easy for a while. What do you think are some things that the community can do to maybe show a little extra love and gratitude to our first responders and law enforcement? I mean, is it money? Is it a handshake? Is it, thank you for what you do? What do you think would be helpful?
Yeah, really the simple, hey, thanks for what you're doing. Just in passing, nothing over the top. It really goes a long way for us. Doug and I were talking a little bit earlier too about the generational stuff. So, your kids are exposed to what's on TV and what's generating clicks and what's getting revenue for these news agencies that put out the inflammatory rhetoric about everything, because it's going to make the money. You follow the money. So just make sure, parents out there, teach your kids to maybe be a critical thinker and not necessarily believe everything that they see on every form of media, and not to apply what they see that, one officer may have done inappropriately to all, God knows how many officers are in the country and in the world. It's easy for people to just look at that and apply it as to a broad base and say, okay, every cop does this, or I believe what's on this channel that says this about them. So, if you can make sure your children are critical thinkers and can, see both sides of a story, I think that's important.
Yeah, I think, nobody, whether it's a career, whether it's a profession, whether it's a segment of the population, whatever, nobody likes to be judged. And I think in just about any situation, whether it be a local business, if you had a transaction with a carpenter and it didn't go so well, you wouldn't think that all carpenters are bad people. And I think from that standpoint, realistically, any one of us out there that's ever made a mistake in life, when we did, we kind of openly, maybe internally, prayed that mistake that was made, that somebody would forgive us, And I guess that's kind of how I'm trying to move forward these days is, number one, when I see something happen that I don't understand, that I didn't see firsthand, man, I want to, what do they say, trust but verify. Sure, I believe the person who told me something, but I want to verify that. And then also I want to look at it and say, hey, man, was this a human being that made a mistake? And I don't just mean law enforcement, I mean business. I mean, your server at a local restaurant, are they going through a tough time in life? Did they just lose their parent? I guess my point is I'm trying to give the same grace that I kind of expect for myself when I've made a mistake. So, yeah, I agree with that, guys. Don't follow the tribe mentality. teach your kids that most people are good people. And sure, there might be some bad apples, but I think you always want to give somebody a shot. So other than parents teaching their kids, what do you think when they're out there in the community? Last thing I want to do is try to give a cop a hug and get tackled. So is there anything that people can do just to show a little more gratitude, you think?
Again, just the simple in passing, when you see us, a wave and a smile is better than a scowl and a glare. It goes a long way to just, we have it pretty good in O'Fallon. I'll say that. This happens frequently. But it is noticed and it is appreciated.
One other question I have for you, man. Obviously as a kid growing up, I had so much admiration for you guys. Even when I wasn't the greatest kid when I was young, I always had such a great respect for our first responders. As a kid growing up today, we keep hearing there's not a lot of great jobs and all this. Well, what does it take for a kid to become a police officer?
Well, there's a fitness test. It's not a very difficult one. So if you've been through a military fitness test, you will pass the police fitness test. Education, currently an Associates of Justice, which is a community college degree or a bachelor's degree in anything, will get you into most departments.
Wow. And I don't know if it's an appropriate question or not, but like in the O'Fallon area, what might the average range of starting pay be for somebody that's a police officer?
Yeah. Last I looked, we're starting new officers off at over $80,000.
Wow. So a good kid with integrity could go to school for 2 years, maybe even get a grant to do it, and start out making over $80,000 a year, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's not a lot of people that want to do it right now. Recruitment has become an issue.
Wow. Hey, parents, you hear that? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've heard there's a few different professions out there that start out really well like that, but that blows my mind that just a bachelor's degree or associates in criminal justice, and incredible. Nick, anything else that you'd like to share with everybody out there about either the Fraternal Order of Police or the causes that you're involved with that you think the community might be able to help with?
Yeah. Again, the golf tournament that we have in September is our only fundraiser that we ask people for money for. That's in the forms of whole sponsorships, like I said, and then, if you have a product that you'd like included, gift cards for restaurants are a big one, and it's mutually beneficial too, because, somebody on our, that's golfing on one of our teams may not have been to your place. You give them a $20 gift card and they come in and spend, 50. So, I'll also add that there are, I receive these phone calls, Doug. I know you receive these phone calls from these, a lot of times robocallers that will claim to be, your local law enforcement or your benevolent this or that. We don't do that. We will not call you unless I know you personally. I say, Doug, I haven't got your check yet. But we're not cold calling people, seeking donations. In my experience, most of those have been kind of scammy and probably maybe not legit and definitely not local. So if you're wanting your money to stay locally, we have a better way of doing that for you. While we're on the topic of the money that we have raised, we did last year set an all-time record for our lodge in putting more than $100,000 back into the community. We recently had developed a little bit of a nest egg. There wasn't a bunch of opportunities to do outreach during COVID lockdowns and things like that. So some of this money accumulated, and we said we need to find something, make a big splash, and make a big impact. So keeping with what we already talked about with Special Olympics, we identified a local team called PTOEC. They're the Parent Teacher Organization for Exceptional Children. They're based out of Belleville, O'Fallon area. They serve more than 100 athletes. And they took on Jim and Tony, two of the athletes who you've met. They were without a team for a while. They had their team couldn't go on anymore after COVID. So, they were coming out to all of our fundraising events with a smile on their face, raising all this money for Torch Run, but weren't able to go compete in the sports that they've been doing their whole lives. So we reached out to PTOEC, and the FOP was willing and ready to pay their membership fees, pay for their uniforms, whatever else might have been associated with it. And their coaches said, no, we know those guys. We love them. We'll take them on free of charge. So We took Tony Hill out to his first practice with PTOEC. I was just talking with one of the coaches about, hey, what might your needs be? How can we help out? And we were thinking at the time, maybe they need some new uniforms or something. We can do that, you know? So they told us gym time was a big issue. They were paying quite a bit to use gyms for softball and basketball practices and things. So we made one phone call to the school districts, and that was easy. We took care of that, no money out of pocket, right? But then the other thing was they mentioned that they have a few athletes that have mobility issues, that are in wheelchairs, and their only vehicle they were operating out of, other than, you know, families' personal vehicles, was like a 2001 Ford Econoline van with God knows how many miles on it, and it apparently wasn't running well. There was no wheelchair accessibility, and they said, you know, a real game changer would be a handicap accessible, wheelchair accessible bus with a lift. And I don't think they expected it to go much further than that. But we have I keep saying annual, Doug. We have monthly meetings for our FOP Lodge. We brought the idea to our membership of, you know, what are we willing to potentially spend on this? And with very little discussion, we unanimously approved up to $25,000 for an accessible vehicle for this team. So you know the long story. I'll keep it the short story. Buddy of mine, buddy of yours, Jimmy Ford. I know, Jimmy, I can't go anywhere without saying your name.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, Jimmy. He has an auction license for vehicle auctions, so he was keeping an eye out for us. You know, I gave him what our kind of budget range was, and he found one, low mileage, not brand new, but very low mileage, out in Nebraska. He bid on it. He won the bid. Bought a one-way plane ticket to Nebraska, drove this thing back on bald tires, and then then it was more work from there, honestly, because it needed some work. Mission Accomplished Tire and Auto here in town donated all of the mechanical work to get it roadworthy. Moreland Auto Body did work on the body for us. Southern Bus and Mobility out in Breeze serviced the wheelchair lift and fixed the roof. And there's other companies. There's so many people helped out with this. And then we were able to give this to them as a gift last fall and make a big impact on a really, really worthy organization.
That is amazing. And, you know, you were a little bit humble, man, when you were talking about like your accomplishments in terms of fundraising. You guys broke a record for your fundraising this year, but tell me, who held the record prior to you breaking the record this year?
So as we were approaching a really high number in the Polar Plunge donations, we were getting up there. We're like, this has to be some kind of record, right? So we reached out to the folks up in Normal at the main office for the state, and we said, what's the record for a Polar Plunge team? And they said, we'll get back to you on that. And they had to research a little bit, and they said, oh, it's you, and, you know, $70,000, obviously. I said, what was the previous record? And they said, you beat some team from 2 years ago that did 46,000. I said, that was us. They didn't realize that, you know, we didn't realize we'd broken the record 2 years prior, but we broke our own. So, and this is thanks to a lot of these donations are businesses. A lot of them are school districts. They'll do fun days where they get to wear pajamas or no uniform day at a private school. And then they put that towards our plunge team. So this isn't us putting our own money into it. This is people jumping on board and seeing that this is a great cause and helping us help other people.
Well, you got a lot of really good local folks doing that stuff and good people that are pretty darn good at raising money, because I'm here to tell you, I've stood in front of a snowblower. I've jumped into a glacier-fed lake in Juneau, Alaska, and I can't touch these people raising money the way they do. They're absolutely amazing. I just love to see what you guys do out there.
You don't have Tony Hill sitting there talking to people. That's the key.
There is that.
That's Tony.
Can I borrow Tony for Wingfest? Maybe?
Absolutely. Tony loves wings.
Well, let's get Tony some VIP into Wingfest.
Two people I can't go anywhere without talking about: Tony Hill, Jim Ford.
Yeah. Man, anything else that you'd like to tell our community about when it comes to, you know, our law enforcement or some of the causes that you guys support?
Yeah, just you know, if your business wants to get involved and you haven't yet, we would love to bring on more whole sponsors for our golf tournament. That money goes a long way. You know, a $500 whole sponsor is going to take 2 kids shopping at Christmas, and it's going to make, you know, 2 kids Christmas that much better. Any amount helps. Yeah, if you have a restaurant, like most of the restaurants I know the owners of, they don't want to do a whole sponsor. They want to do a gift card.
Yeah.
And we love that. Now, our golfers love that. And that, they're going to spend more money on the raffle tickets and then come spend more money at your business also.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, Nick, that was one of the reasons we wanted to have you here is a couple things that the Home Foundation does. One, every month we make a $500 donation to a local nonprofit organization that supports the military, law enforcement, and firefighter communities. So we definitely want to give you guys a check for $500, maybe support a couple of those families at Christmas or whatever you guys could do with those funds. Obviously, everybody out there, we encourage you to do the same. A couple of the other missions of the Home Foundation are that we have local service providers, everybody from loan officers to real estate agents, financial advisors, you name it, that have a really big heart for our military and first responder community. And because of that, they either provide additional service or maybe discounts. For instance, on a real estate transaction, I waive $1,776 in fees. So when they work with one of our real estate agents that may also make discounts to them, or one of our home inspectors or insurance agents, everybody's either making a donation on their behalf or they're discounting their services in some way to really make their life a little bit better. So the Home Foundation also is looking for additional 501c3s that we can support on a monthly basis. So if you know these different charities that support that community, don't keep them a secret. Please don't be shy. Reach out to us. You'll see our information at the end of the video here, and we would love to help them. And last, if you are part of that military or first responder community and you've moved on to a civilian business where you might, your family might benefit from referrals from people like myself, we'd love to meet you and we'd love to help you grow your business. So thank you guys so much for watching. Nick, thanks so much for telling us about the Fraternal Order of Police and some of the causes you guys have. We look forward to the golf outing, and don't forget, they can use some funds and some whole sponsors, so reach out. Have a great week, everybody.